All right, guys. We are live yet again this week. Yet again this week. So a little bit late today. I apologize for that. Technical issue. Had to figure them out, but now they are fixed. Remove this thing out of the way. All right. So yeah. So we're here again. Um, any questions you guys have, feel free to ask. I am here and I am, ready to answer them. I've got some good energy today. This is going to be fantastic. So, um, yeah. So again, I've been doing these pretty much every week. I'm going to wait for a few minutes. I know this is obviously being recorded, but I'm going to wait a few minutes just for some of the subscribers to start coming in, and we'll answer some questions. And actually, this week I'm going to go completely ad lib style. I'm not sure if I have any prepared questions, but I can talk about this forever and ever and ever and ever. So not a big deal. Uh, but there's a few announcements. The first is that the course price is going up on Friday. Friday at midnight. So there's going to be a 25% increase in the price of the course. So if you're interested, make sure that you get in. It's just a factual thing. We are going to be doing that. Uh, and part of the reason we're doing that is because um, we're basically running. Well, there's a lot of reasons that we're doing it, but we're doing it. And seriously, after this price raise, we're not raising it again. I'm not going to be rating it again. Um, so the new price, um, yeah, after 25% increase, I'm not going to raise it again. So, but it's been out for 2 years now. We've got a nice growing community, and we've got some students, a good amount, a couple dozen now, 3 dozen that have launched, and we've got a few dozen that have hit the $10,000 a month mark in revenue, and so we know the value is there, and the value not only of the course material but also the community is growing, and so that's why the price is going up. But at this point, again, I sort of had a plan the day I first launched this course to eventually have it hit a certain price point, and that's the price point that we will be at as of Friday at midnight. So there's 3 questions that I intend on answering. The first is, uh, and you can thank my wife for your question. How do you handle an unsatisfied client? The pros and cons of clients in different time zones, and the pros and cons of a 24-hour call center, even if you don't do it. So uh, I'm going to type those 3 things in. How you handle an unsatisfied client, pros and cons of clients in different time zones, and pros and cons of a 24-hour call center. And you know what? I forgot. I normally I shared it with the Facebook group. So let me share the stream with the Facebook group, and we can get it popping there. Let's see, where are we? Here's the group. Okay, we are live for this week's Q&A. Hop in, and let's put the link in there. You can see a very funny visual of my face. Yeah, let's change that. How do you change that? Oh, whatever. Who cares about my face? Okay, so let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. So yeah, we're about 4 minutes and 30 seconds in. We'll go to let's say the 6 minute mark. If there aren't any, if there isn't anyone in here at the 6 minute mark, then I'll just start answering the questions that are prepared here, because I do have the student call at in roughly 43 minutes. So also it seems that though. Uh, Oh, okay, cool. Okay, cool. Cool. Um, so yeah, one more minute down, get started on answering the questions. Again, we're going to be raising the price of the course 25%. And also, I've started doing weekly webinars, essentially the fourth step to starting a call center. So instead of the 4-day email course, we're doing a live webinar where I just do the whole thing as a presentation. That way you can sort of, essentially learn with me directly. Was I'm going through the steps to start this thing, and then right after within that session, I do a Q&A. So I think it would be really helpful. I did one last week, and I did one last night or yesterday evening. So again, I think it will be very helpful. Um, So yeah, okay. So 6 minutes in now. So how do you handle an unsatisfied client? Um, so the big thing is this. The first is that um, it depends on what they're unsatisfied about, right? Whenever it comes to anything in any company, forget, not even thinking about the virtual receptionist sphere or sphere. Um, you just gotta first figure out the root of the problem, and perhaps depending on the frustration level of the client, you there's a certain point where you have to first reassure them that you're acknowledging their issue and that you care um, to get it fixed, and then three, that you are apologetic that the issue is happening in the first place, right? Um, So those three things: you make sure that you have empathy for their situation, acknowledge their situation in a way that let them know that you're fully aware of not only what the situation is, but the gravity of it, urgency of it, and the specifics of it. And then finally, being proactively apologetic about the fact that it happened in the first place, right? Even if it's not even something that was in your control. uh, Specifically in the call center space, the type of thing that could happen is that you didn't realize, um, the type of thing that could happen is that maybe the phone system's down, right? Usually clients are not unsatisfied. They just, it's like, oh, it's unfortunate, but we'll wait it out. I don't know. But it happens with every business. Now, unsatisfied clients. You know what? Another way in which that could happen is when an agent screws something up. Shouldn't happen too often, but if your business grows large enough, it's going to happen. There's going to be situations where there was some small agent mistake that led to whatever, right? It's just in any type of business, it's something that comes up. Um, but again, once you've done those three things, you make sure that you actually dispatch either yourself or someone to the handling of that problem. Somebody needs to take ownership of it uh, quickly. And if it's something that isn't fixed in like 5 to 10 minutes, then you need to keep your client sort of in the loop on. Excuse me. Need to keep your client in the loop on what a possible solution might be. Whether you determine what the issue is, like what caused the problem, um, and then you just keep your client in the loop in terms of what you're doing to rectify the situation. And I have to be very broad here because I haven't outlined a specific problem. But the main thing is just keeping your client in the loop, showing that you care, and having empathy. Um, Now, I think the more difficult thing that screws up some entrepreneurs is, from an emotional intelligence perspective, customer service perspective, when something comes up that legitimately isn't your fault, but it's a problem for the client, and maybe it's a difference in expectations that was set, or for whatever reason, they're upset. Now, if it's something that's outside your control, or that it just literally wasn't your fault, um, again, it's unfortunate to deal with it as a business owner, or like the operator of the business. But in most situations, you have to say, sort of take that. You have to take the L. You got to take it on the cheap, right? Because the important thing is that you try to get that client. If they're a good client overall, they're just unsatisfied. You got to do what you can to get that client uh, satisfied, because if they're unsatisfied, they're not going to continue to pay you. And especially in this business, two things are extremely important. One, your reputation, which is every business, and then two, uh, all the clients are recurrent, so you want them to be able to stick around and pay you next month and the next month and the next month. Whoever's here, say hi. Happy to see you. So you want your client to continue to pay you. It's not going to happen unless you know you are showing them that you care, right? Because I think just about every client is cognizant of the fact that mistakes happen. Sometimes things happen. Now, if they're completely, you know just not understanding, and there's just no leniency, and they're completely going off on you, and it seemed to be, which this is a very relative thing, obviously, but if it seemed to be really an overreaction, and something that just seems like it just a tarnished relationship in general, uh, then frankly, there have been a few times where we had to say, you know what, I apologize. Uh, I apologize, but it just doesn't seem like this is going to work going forward. um, and you try to make the break easy for them. So if they, have configured their account and they're forwarding call to you, don't want to just cut them off, right? Because that could screw them up. They could miss some call. So you give them time to make the transition away. Um, and have it be no hard feelings. Just say, listen, I really apologize, but it's not going to work. We had to do that a few times. In a very polite way. It was just like not from a standpoint of you being angry, just a sort of simple, factual, almost acknowledgement that the type of service that you're providing and the way in which you're providing it, it's just not a fit for that client. And clear that it's not a fit, and so the frustration is warranted, and it's warranted to them, it's important to them, and they feel that they are in the right in that regard. um, and so you have to respect that, but also sort of know that it's just not, you're not going to change the way you do your business, right? If you're serving your clients in a way that has integrity, whereas you're actually trying and putting in your best effort, and it's not enough for a certain client, then it is what it is. You got to give them a way to safely transition away, and just sort of use someone else, right? Sometimes this type of service isn't the best thing. Like, yes, the call handling part works for just about everyone, but some clients, they essentially want a virtual assistant, like doing some market research and stuff. And, that's not what we provide. That's not what virtual receptionist companies do, right? And then there's certain business owners that they essentially want to treat a service business as if it's your personal employee situation. And so that's not, they're not actually getting that either, unless they pay to have dedicated agents. And even in that sense, they're still not their personal employees. So that's that. Okay, I gave a really long answer, um, because nobody else is asking questions at the moment. So, second, pros and cons of clients in different time zones. Now, I actually covered this a few weeks ago. Sorry, wife, but I'll cover it again. Um, you know, so you can answer this based off of two things, and one is if you have 24-hour coverage, and the other is if you don't have 24-hour coverage. If you don't, and you have clients in different time zones, especially outside of the US, the only reason they're using you if you're in the US is because they, have clients maybe of their own, or they're prospects of their own that are located in the US, that they, desire to be in contact with, or potentially, close the deal on. And so when that's the case, especially some of the out of the overseas companies, they might not actually have people on staff that are like native English speakers. Right, that's happened plenty of times. There've been like Brazilian companies or whatever that don't have any native uh, speakers on staff, and so they want native English speakers, or Native American English speakers. Um, and so, yeah, I mean, in that regard, you're providing value to them. It's valuable. Um, Now, on the other hand, if you're a 24-hour company, you can have clients all over the world because you're servicing 24 hours. Now, again, the reason a company from outside of the US is using a company in the US is because they want access to that market, right? But you still might, in some ways, work in their time zone. Now, the con is that there are two cons. One, um, you know, you're dealing with having your phones on 24 hours of the day, 7 days a week, which means something can happen at literally any moment, right? Your phone system can go down at literally, it could go down at 2 o'clock in the morning. You're sleeping and you're like, really comfortable. And then all of a sudden you get your notifications, hey, the phone system's down. Now, usually that's not a huge deal because, especially for your clients in the US, none of them are getting a lot of calls at 2 o'clock in the morning. Whether they're asking for the coverage or not, none of them are getting a lot of calls at 2 o'clock in the morning. Um, and if they do, it just doesn't really happen. But it is sort of nerve wracking to know that at any given moment you can be sort of on call, right? It's nowhere near as intense as like working at a hospital, but it's still like it's an always on thing. And that might not seem like a big deal, but I'm telling you right now, it is something that can at least mentally wear you down a little bit. That's one con. The second con is that payroll's higher. You're covering 168 hours a week, 24 hours a day times seven, more payroll. And depending on the size of your company, you've got multiple agents, maybe groups of agents covering every single shift. So it's just more payroll. And so the pro, though, is that you're opening yourself up to all kinds, literally any industry that would ever use a call answering situation. Any industry. There's certain very large companies that want to white label you because you're 24/7. Some of our students that are 24/7, they've been landing some big accounts as a result of it. And so, from a revenue standpoint, your revenue will eventually beat out the increase in opportunity, will 100% eventually beat out the increase in payroll costs, at least as a percentage, and it will eventually be justified. So it comes down to making the decision as to whether or not you're okay with sort of being always on. And once the company gets big enough, it's sort of always on anyway. But the phone system, like you're literally 24 hours a day, 7 days a week serving people. Once you make that determination, if you're okay with it, go for it, right? And once you get to a certain size, some other person can take ownership of overnight. It can be, listen, don't wake me up under any circumstance unless literally the entire building falling down. And anything that's even somewhat minor, just have it go to the nighttime manager or whatever, right? Um, so there's that, and people do that all the time. So I hope that answered that question. Third question. Oh no, that is the third question. So yeah, so those are the three things. You know, it's not too much to it. Um, Again, as I say, pretty much every week, this is a fantastic business to be in. I've started 25 different companies over the years. Actually, well, I think 26 now, 26, 27. Um, and um, the virtual receptionist company was overall the best company. Um, and the reason for that, there's all kinds of reasons. Like, all of your clients are recurring. You're able to work it from anywhere. It's B2B, which in some cases I like a lot more than B2C, at least when it comes to services. Services B2B is way more fun. I think with products, it might be a little easier to do B2C, but I don't even know. Um, but there's just all kinds of possibilities when you're running this type of. The other cool thing is that from an entrepreneurial standpoint, you can grow your network pretty easily when you're serving other small business entrepreneurs, right? You're providing a service that has tremendous value to them. Um, you're providing a service that there's literally no one that can actually do a significantly better job than you. So you're not in danger of, like, let's say being a software company that charges $100 for a list of features. Then all of a sudden some other software company comes in and offers your entire suite of features for free because now it's through Google or something, right? That doesn't happen in the call center space. Uh, Cost can only get so low without the quality of service suffering. You're not going to be in a situation where just because a company is larger than you, significantly larger even, they're doing a better job. Oftentimes when it comes to this industry, the larger you get, sometimes the quality can fall through the cracks a little bit. Once you're in the 5 to 10 millions of dollars, right? So you're in a situation where once you're set up and sort of established, and even doing $5 to $10,000 a month in revenue, you're in a position that you're providing the same level of service as long as your people are good. You can provide the same quality of service as the behemoth that's doing $10 million a year. So that's a fantastic thing. That's just not really the case in a lot of industries, right? Usually there's so much competitive advantage to the larger companies. Um, and then, another thing is that this is a type of company that can be automated to a certain extent very well. And it's the type of company that's in an industry that's going to be around forever. I mean, I don't. I can't really think about the circumstances that spell the end of a premium answering company. I honestly can't imagine it. You might say, "Oh yeah, the robots." I think that's a complete lie. Maybe there's some possibility if quantum computing gets ridiculously good, but anything from a machine learning standpoint in AI isn't going to do the trick. It needs to be quantum. Yeah, Raul comes in. Good seeing you. Uh, I think people always want a human. I personally want every single time you go to call. Let's say you're calling your cell phone, uh, like Sprint or AT&T or T-Mobile or whatever, Verizon. Let's say you're calling and you're trying to talk to someone, and you're just dealing with a bunch of robots, and then these robots are like, I can answer complete sentences, I can understand complete sentences. Then you say a complete sentence, like, okay, I want to talk to someone about the error on my phone bill, and they'll say, I believe you're talking about billing, is that correct? And then you got to confirm. Like, it's just a human. You say it. Listen, y'all screwed up my phone bill. It's like, oh wow, sorry about that. Let me immediately start looking at your account to see what's going on. And you can be very specific. You don't have to train a robot to, analyze every single potential situation, right? Um, and oh, awesome. Moving to the Dominican Republic to open a call center next week. Going to be documenting the whole journey. Well, I hope you're in the tribe, man, because there's actually a person in the tribe that has a call center that now has about 100 agents, and I believe all of his agents are in the Dominican Republic. So that person would be very valuable to you. But Also, that's freaking awesome. It's the DR is a fantastic place to be. So I hope you have fun out there, man. There's a lot of great talent out there, and with you being local, you'll have the advantage of being able to find some fantastic talent and having access to them, and they'll have the ability to serve the American market, if assuming you want to have the American market be your client in a very good way. If you want to get into the tribe, you just got to get the program. I'm not sure how long you have been paying attention to me, but here is the link to it. And I'm not trying to sit here and sell on this thing, but it's just a fact of life. You can't start this call center, Raul, without me. You could have gotten it done and stumbled around without even finding this YouTube channel, but your life gonna be a heck of a lot easier. You'll be able to learn like twice as fast, and frankly, over time, your costs are gonna be probably about a third, or even less, if you sort of know what you're doing. So, that's all I'll say about that. But yeah, man, if since you're here, I'm here for about maybe 10 more minutes. If you got any questions you want to ask me, feel free to ask. I know there's one or two other people on here. Feel free to say hi. Tell us where you're from. Well, where are you from right now? Where you living? Elaine. Uh, I hope I'm saying that right. Elaine Hamilton. Uh, well, yeah, there is a way to get started as your own receptionist, and that's a good question. New York, fantastic. Aline, I hope I'm saying that right. Charlotte, North Carolina, awesome. Um, I don't know what it is, but for some reason, every single time I even think of the word Charlotte or the city Charlotte, I also think of the city Charleston, and they're completely different states, and they're completely different cities with different vibes and everything. But Charlotte's awesome. Yeah, and I think it got a way better historical situation than Charleston. Uh, so Bay player, okay. Software engineer by training, and think that a lot of processes can be scaled across services. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You're 100% right. So yeah, New York to the Dominican Republic, man, your life not going to change at all. NYC has so many Dominican theories, hilarious. You just go from that's fantastic. Um, so okay, so how do you get started as your own receptionist though? Um, I mean, it's pretty simple. You just get the phone system set up. I'm obviously giving a very simple answer here, but um, you get the phone system set up. You get your website going, which thankfully you can build that yourself. You get your marketing together, start landing clients, and initially you just start taking the calls yourself. And it's still important to have an enterprise level contact center software that you're using, right? Um, and Even if it's just you on there, and in most cases, that software is going to require you to have more than one license starting off. So keep that in mind. But your cost will obviously start up higher because you're paying for a few licenses, typically two or three. But the good news is that that cost will stay the same, even after you hire your first and second additional agent, and eventually, I'm assuming, replace yourself. Um, so there's that. But yeah, a lot of processes can be scaled across services. There's some students. There's one in particular that he hopped in doing a virtual receptionist company, but he decided to do virtual receptionist, VA. He's doing like some type of autoresponder situation, and then also something else. I can't even remember. But he's doing four different things, and he's in four different verticals. Now, he's making the majority of his revenue in the virtual receptionist side. I think probably 95% of it. But he positioned himself to be able to serve potential clients in four different ways. And so I think what they're doing is they're building out the virtual receptionist to a couple million. They're already at the run rate of $600,000, 700,000 a year as a run rate. And once they get to a couple million, they're going to start focusing on other verticals. So they're going to have a nice, pretty comprehensive offering in a few years. I'm very excited about it, and they're doing it faster than I did it. um, let's see. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. Um, and yeah, this was sort of a late start here, and I apologize for that. I'm glad a few people sort of trickled in. Elaine, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm gonna stick around for about 7 more minutes because I gotta hop on the other call with the student. Pretty shortly here. Um, Bay Play, whoever you are, uh, you know, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I know there's a few other people that hopped in. Uh, Feel free to ask any questions you might have. Happy to help. Uh, Payment plan pretty easy. It's just one payment a month. One thing to keep in mind, well, is that, and I said this earlier, I'm not sure if you were here, but I'm raising the price of the course significantly and permanently on Friday at midnight. So keep that in mind, and that really goes for all of you. But so, like on there's actually an additional discount on the course right now, and I sort of don't want to say it on this recording because someone might watch this in a year or two. But right now, at this very moment, the course is discounted 20% less than the normal price. But on Friday at midnight, the course is going to go 25% higher than the normal price, and so it represents um, 50 a 58% increase in price. So there's that. Uh, Bayplay asked, in terms of software, what are the best options? Um, well, I'm assuming you're asking about the phone system software, the contact center software. There's only one best option, in my opinion, and that is 5.9. Uh, so I typed it a little higher up. Try it again. Last. Hope you guys were able to read that link. Um, but yeah, so 5.9 is the one that I recommend. And just so you guys know too, and you know, the reason I recommend 5.9 is because during my time running my company, we use six different phone systems. I don't know why I say five, but we switched 5 times. We use six different phone systems. One called If by Phone, TalkDesk, Ring Central, Fluent Stream, 5.9, and NectarDesk. So those were the six. We used those six phone systems. Um, and 5.9 was the only one that wasn't its own level of a disaster. Fluent Stream was an unmitigated disaster. It seriously could have killed the company. It could have literally brought it down to zero. TalkDesk, we actually started off on If by Phone, which reliably was like from a reliability standpoint was decent, but the feature set was nowhere near what we were looking for. TalkDesk didn't have the handle time metric, and there was a bunch of glitching because it sat on Twilio, which sat at the time on Amazon Web Services. Well, you understand that. Amazon Web Services seems like it would be completely great. It's actually terrible for this situation. Technotics, hey, good to see you. Or the 59 Facebook group. Um, I think Technotics is Yolanda. So just type in. No, let me just link it. Now I gotta tell you guys, I'm about to link this, but actually, Yolanda, I'm going to email you that link directly, or I can sort of put it in the tribe. No, no, I'll link it. I'll link it. But you won't get in the group unless you are in, like, you're a student of the program. So keep that in mind. It's for people that are students of the program only. Okay. So I'm gonna link it right now. There you go. All right. So click on that. I'll let you in immediately. Yolanda been going through the course and very excited for it. Okay. What else? Um, I think that, yeah. So 5.9 is the one I recommend. There's one other named EVS7 that had been coming up a decent amount, but no one has been. There's a few people that signed up for it. No one that has signed up for it has hit 10 grand a month yet. That's not true. One person did, but she left. She had a bad experience and left. But apparently, the issue that she had, and she's on 5.9 now, and apparently, the issue she had, uh, apparently, is something that had been solved by EVS7. And it was basically concerning how calls were handled that came in from Google Voice. Whichever phone system you ever use, there's always going to be some weird, wonky thing that happens in terms of how the software responds as a result of a Google Voice uh, call coming in. Google Voice is very weird. I'm not going to talk about it in the context of this, but certain contact center systems can handle it, and some literally cannot. That's all I can say about that. Yeah. So I hope that answered that question sufficiently, Bayplay. All right. Any other quick questions? I maybe got 3 or 4 more minutes, and I can answer them quickly. And remember, there's no bad questions, so feel free to ask. I can promise you that anyone that has the question that you have, uh, you know, someone else is gonna have the same question. So. And even if I've answered it before, if it's been more than 3 months out, frankly, there's not a whole lot of people that are going to stumble on a live call from that far back. So it'll basically feel like a completely new question. Um, yeah. So anything you guys got? Anything you guys got? And for those of you that came in recently, okay, so Pantera, good question. Londa, have I heard of Pantera? I have heard of Pantera. I used to be completely against them, but let me take a look. Okay, so Pantera, it's still focused a lot on. It's focused on sort of an omni-channel call center, and you know you're able to handle calls and such, but it's sort of built the way it was originally sort of built was for being able to do sort of like video calls and stuff. And that's the way that they sort of try to make themselves. That's how they establish themselves. Now they're like an omni-channel contact center. So instead of just calls, you can do video, you can do texting, you can do messaging on like different social platforms and such. And it's sort of like this all-in-one situation. Now, you can use it. The one thing that I would recommend though is that you refer to that questionnaire, the important questions you didn't know you needed to ask your phone vendor questionnaire. When you, and I'm not sure if you asked on the demo, maybe you have, but make sure you ask every single last one of those questions and make sure they have a sufficient satisfactory answer for you. Okay. If they cannot provide a satisfactory answer to literally every single one of those questions, then I promise you it will come up once you actually start using it and once you start, having clients and stuff. Uh, and, there's that. Now, with that said, I don't work for any phone system companies at all. I don't have any allegiance to any. My only goal is for you guys to have a call center that works, right? And that gets clients and makes you profitable and happy. So if you find that Pantera work, great. We can sort of have that be yet another recommendation. But what I will say is that whereas we actually use 6 different phone systems, we demoed about 60. So, we went and did initial call and second call with 60 different phone system possibilities. Pantera was one of them. But this was at this point about 4 years ago. So, excuse me, different systems, cloud service providers can change a lot in 4 years, right? The only thing that really matters, one, of course, that they handle all those features and functions and stuff, but two, that the reliability is where it needs to be. It needs to sit on a certain technology stack. Um, if it sits on a certain technology stack, then you'll be completely fine. If it doesn't sit on a certain technology stack, then you're going to be dealing with uh, glitches and outages that you really don't want to think about. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, they got product of the year, so that's good. Um, yeah, maybe they've improved. Maybe they've improved. Yeah. So we didn't use them specifically, but you just want to make sure that you're and I tend to be very strict about these things because the contact center system that you use is the lifeblood of your call center. It makes or breaks your company, right? If you have a bunch of clients and a system that doesn't work well, you can lose. It's really the only easy way to lose your clients. Um, if you have an agent that's sort of screwing up, you can replace the agent. It is what it is. Uh, and people have a lot of sort of leniency for that type of thing because it's like, okay, it's a clear thing. You just change this person out. But when it comes to the phone system, that's not something that you can change very quickly. It's very difficult to migrate from one phone system to another. Um, it takes a lot of steps. If you just have like 2 or 3 clients, it's not a huge deal. But once you get to anything above 15 to 20, it becomes a huge deal. And again, we made 5 different switches. The last time we did a switch, it was a lot of clients. It took me a full 2 months to do it. And I mean, it was, overnight. Like my wife still remembers. I was like, she was sleeping. I'm up all night, like just doing configurations. It's really insane. So you want to make sure you get it right. But again, we didn't try every single phone system out there. We just demoed everything I could find. I spent 18 months going through all kinds of different vendors, slowly one by one, an entire 18 months. And we still got it wrong when we switched to Fluent. So there's that. Okay. So wow, that was a whole lot of devil's advocate there. I apologize for that, but But yeah, I can't overemphasize the importance of getting it right. Okay. I got the tribe called Londa. I can see you in there if you like, but we've got the tribe call in about 3 minutes. And Rahul and really all of you, hope to see you in the tribe, man. It's an exciting place to be. If you're about to launch, that's the best time to be involved. And that's all I got. Thanks a lot. And again, if you have any other questions, feel free to just comment on the afterward too. Right, I always come back and answer, or I can use that question for next week, whatever you want. But I'm always here to help, and I hope that tonight's information was helpful for you guys. So appreciate it again, and I will see you next week.